Welcome to my video. When you look at the current conflict, it's pretty clear the stated goals of the nations involved couldn't be more different. You've got one major power framing its involvement as, just supporting an ally. But then you have another nation that, according to some, is playing a much, much longer game.
So that really makes you wonder, right? Is what we're seeing just about regional influence or securing resources like oil? Or, and this is where it gets interesting, are we actually witnessing the moves of a far more ambitious, multi-generational plan unfolding right before our very eyes?
When you put the motivations side by side, the contrast is, well, it's pretty stark. On one hand, you have what look like standard geopolitical goals, stuff we see all the time. But on the other hand, according to this particular viewpoint, there's an endgame that isn't about oil, it's not about an immediate victory. It's about fulfilling what some people consider to be a divine destiny.
And listen, this idea isn't just floating around on the fringes. You have really influential figures framing the conflict in exactly these terms. Take U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, for example. He stated it as plainly as you can. This is a religious war. Now, a statement like that, it completely reframes the entire conflict, doesn't it? It shifts it from a political dispute to a holy one.
Okay, so that brings us to the first major theory behind this alleged long game. It's a geopolitical ambition, for sure, but one with deep ancient roots. What's known as the Greater Israel Project.
Now, for the people who believe in this idea, this isn't some historical fantasy. They see it as a very active political project. What it envisions is an Israel that goes way beyond its current borders, all based on a specific reading of Scripture that they believe promises them a vast territory.
And the sheer scale of this vision is just enormous. We're not talking about minor border adjustments. The land described in some of these biblical texts would cover not just modern-day Israel and Palestine, but all of Lebanon and Jordan, plus huge chunks of Syria, Iraq, Egypt, and even Saudi Arabia. So from this perspective, it's not seen as expansionism, it's seen as reclaiming a divine inheritance.
And those who believe in this theory, they ground it in a very real history of territorial acquisition. They point to a clear pattern, starting with the state's establishment back in 1948. Moving through the Six-Day War in '67, all the way to the ongoing occupation and expansion of settlements today. The argument is that the physical borders have been consistently, methodically expanding.
But this geopolitical ambition is supposedly tied to an even deeper religious goal. And this one is centered on probably the most contested piece of real estate on the entire planet, the city of Jerusalem.
Yeah, everything seems to hinge on this single sacred hilltop. It's a place revered by two of the world's great religions, and for centuries, it has been a powerful symbol of both coexistence and, of course, terrible conflict.
You see, for Jewish people, it's the Temple Mount, the site of their two ancient temples. For Muslims, it's the Al-Aqsa compound, the place where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have ascended into heaven. The immense spiritual weight of this one location for both faiths, well, it makes it an almost inescapable flashpoint.
And this brings us right to the prophecy of the Third Temple. This is the belief, held by some, that a third Jewish temple must be rebuilt on this exact spot. And this isn't just an ancient idea, it's entered modern political talk. For instance, the American commentator Pete Hegseth talked about the miraculous reestablishment of the temple as something that could really happen.
So here's where it all comes together. This is where those two big ambitions, the territorial goal of a greater Israel and the spiritual goal of a third temple, allegedly merge into one. In this view, they aren't separate objectives at all, but really just two sides of the same coin. So according to this viewpoint, the strategy unfolds in three basic steps. Step 1, weaken and neutralize any regional power that could get in the way. Iran is often cited as the main target here. Step 2, continue the steady, systematic expansion of territory. And finally, step 3, with your rivals out of the picture and the land secured, you create the conditions to fulfill the prophecy of the Third Temple.
And here's a crucial piece of the puzzle. There's a powerful force allegedly supporting this from thousands of miles away, Christian Zionism. For millions of believers, especially in the United States, these events aren't just geopolitics. They see them as the actual fulfillment of biblical prophecy. The belief that these steps will bring about the second coming of Jesus, well, that creates a massive political and religious support base for these alleged ambitions.
So, where is all of this headed? I mean, if these theories have any truth to them, the implications aren't just regional, they're global.
Because the end game here, according to this perspective, isn't about coexistence. It's not even about simple security. It is about absolute, unquestioned regional dominance. The goal would be to establish a superpower so dominant that no neighbor could ever dream of challenging it,
to weaken all rivals to the point of irrelevance and emerge as the one and only power in the region.
And this ambition, this idea of superpower status, isn't just wild speculation. People who subscribe to this theory will point to official statements that seem to echo this very goal. For example, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself has said that Israel is a regional superpower and, in many ways, a global superpower. A statement like that is seen as tying this whole theory of dominance directly to the stated goals of the country's leadership.
And so that leaves us with a pretty heavy question, doesn't it? When a nation's political strategy gets tangled up with what some see as its divine destiny, do the normal rules of conflict even apply anymore? The struggle becomes about so much more than just borders or land. It becomes about who gets to write the narrative of history itself. And it really makes you wonder what the future holds for a region and for a world that's caught right in the middle of it all.